Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me once again. So happy Election Day. I hope you guys are voting right when you go out there to vote. Yeah, happy Election Day. I want to respond to a video in reference to the governor of the state of Ohio, Governor DeWine, and the mayor of the city of Cleveland, Mayor Bibbs. Apparently, they had a press conference, and during this press conference, the issue that they were focusing on was whether or not that the National Guard should be deployed here in the city of Cleveland. So I'm going to let you guys listen in on Governor DeWine here and his view on whether or not that should be the issue. And then afterwards, Mayor Bibbs is going to get up and give his 2 cents, okay? And then I'm going to give you guys my response to this whole idea of the National Guard being deployed here in the city of Cleveland. So let's get right into this. Yeah, you know, this is Election Day, so people are going to say, and let me say this before I start. With it being Election Day, people are going to say, these politicians are going to say whatever they need to say in order to be reelected. Let's just put it to you like this. So they're going to say whatever they're going to say. But let's get right into this. This is Governor DeWine of the state of Ohio.
What we're talking about today is the best way to deal with crime, and it's the best way to deal with violent crime. I always feel that you should deploy the asset that is the most appropriate for whatever the problem is. So in the past, several of our cities in Ohio asked me to deploy the National Guard when we had a...
Now, notice what he said. In the past, now he didn't go into details as how long in the past, but in the past, apparently, several cities had asked that he deploy the National Guard. And in the past, I have seen National Guards members walking around the city of Cleveland. Now, was that a direct result of this request to deploy the National Guard? I have no clue, okay? But I just wanted to make a comment about that because I find it interesting as to why these cities would be asking the governor to deploy the National Guard. But let's go on.
We were having a tough summer, and there was disturbances and concerns about that. We deployed the Guard. So I'm not hesitant to do that. When I'm asked by a mayor, that's a very, very...
Let me say this too. Let me respond here. By the way, the governor is a Republican and the mayor of the city of Cleveland is a progressive Democrat. So you already know how that's going to go, right? I find it interesting, though, that this Republican governor is talking so soft about certain disturbances happening in the city, really, in these cities, certain disturbances. The people, the victims that suffer this kind of stuff don't see it as disturbances, sir. With all due respect, they see it as crime. They're scared and they want an answer. They want protection. Now, I'm protecting myself. Okay, I'm protecting myself. The police will be the last people that I call. And you get my gist. They will be the last I call because I'm prepared. So don't be stupid. But the point is that I believe in that. So I don't want to, the police will be the last I call. And I would reckon that, and when I say the police will be the last I call, I don't mean I'm going to go out there and do, y'all know what I'm talking about. What I mean is the police are reactionary. Once I do what I have to do to defend myself, then I'm going to call the police to clean up the mess. I'm not going to wait around for wait around for me to get slashed and then decide to call the police. I might not be around to call the police. I'll do what I need to do to defend myself and those I love, and then I'll call the police to clean up the mess. You got that? But anyway, I can't help but think that these individuals that the Governor DeWine is referring to in these cities where he talks about how that there are certain disturbances going on, I can't help but think that many of these people in these cities or in these places are people that don't believe in having guns. They don't believe in owning a gun. They've been programmed and conditioned to believe that owning a gun is bad, it's anathema, and if somebody is breaking in your house and they about to do you in and your family, whatever, call the police. That to me is one of the most goofiest things that I've ever heard. I mean, we don't need to go into the detail of that because that's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. What are you going to do? Hide in the closet and take your smartphone, your cell phone, and try to call the police? I mean, what are you going to do? Whisper, somebody's in my house. I mean, come on. You may not have the time for that. That is just not practical. That's movies. That's movies. That's not always going to happen in real life. Okay, but anyway, let's go on.
A serious request, and I take it very, very seriously. We deploy the Guard, just to look at the whole picture. During the pandemic, we had the Guard giving shots. We had members of the Guard who were going out and volunteering or working at food banks because all the volunteers couldn't go out. So the Guard can do many, many things. They're an amazing group for logistics, getting something done, something from one place to another, all of those things. When we're dealing with violent criminals, the best resource is the resources you see up here. These, and it's, again, I want to stress it, it is the federal government, it's the state government, it is the county, it is the city, all of those agencies working together and targeting violent offenders. That is the most effective tool. So when I became governor, my background, I started as a county prosecuting attorney. I was attorney general for 8 years. I asked Andy Wilson, I said, look, we have to do more. The state has to do more. We are a local government state. We have over 900 police departments around the state of Ohio. We respect that. They're the ones who are in charge, but the state can be more of help than we have been in the past.
Now, notice what he says, but the state has to be more help than we have been in the past. What I read from that is what he seems to be suggesting is that we may need to deploy the National Guard in certain cities throughout the state, Cleveland being one of them. Now, I'm going to let you guys listen in on what Mayor Bibbs has to say, which will be obviously the contrast. He's a Democrat. He's a progressive. As far as I'm concerned, he's a socialist edging on communism. But that's another story, and I digress. My question is this. Why would other cities throughout the state be requesting that the state do something about this? If that city or the city police departments aren't doing anything and the mayors in those cities are not doing anything, then quite naturally the people in those cities and in those areas will cry out for help to the state to help because, the city is not doing it. So now they have to crowd to the bigger guys to do something about it. I think this would not be an issue if the cities do what they're supposed to do in terms of getting violent offenders off the street. It's really common sense. And they can't cry, we don't have the funds. Baloney, you do have the funds. But in my opinion, I'm going to get into that in a minute because I hear people say they don't have the funds, they don't have the funds. These cities have the funds, they have the money. Please, man, I don't want to hear that bull crap. Okay? Most people are not as stupid as they think they are. But yeah, that's the issue. The issue, why? If the governor is saying this, then there's a reason why he's saying it. Apparently, cities have been crying out to him about, we need to do something about this high crime. Why? What's going on here? Let's go on.
And so when I became governor, we started looking at how can we be more helpful. And we came up with this idea that we can take 3 or 4 of our agents and put them into a city at the request of the mayor and surge in there for targeted, very specific programs, not just out patrolling every day, but literally working with the Cleveland Police Department in this case. And it has worked. Now, do we still have violent crime? Yes, we do. But this.
Let me say something to you. Let me say something real quick. I want to make a response too, because I don't want to overstate myself here. The governor here of the state of Ohio isn't necessarily saying we need to deploy the National Guard, but what he is saying is that the state and the cities and all the different law enforcement agencies within these particular realms need to work together to eliminate crime. That's what he's saying. And in terms of deploying the National Guard, they're saying, hey, you know, we don't need to do that. We all need to work together. But is that going to be, is that going to happen? Because I'm going to get into the detail a little later about the crime in the city of Cleveland and stuff seems to be increasing, but I'm going to get into it a little later. Okay. But really, is that all these cities need? And I'm going to focus on the city of Cleveland. Is that all the city of Cleveland needs? Is that the federal the agencies here in the city of Cleveland and the state agencies need to work together to eliminate crime here in the city of Cleveland? Is that all that's needed, or is there something else needs to be needed? Let's go on.
Action is bringing about some very, very good results and getting some bad people off the streets. You have to get the violent repeat offenders off the streets. You have to lock them up, and you have to keep them locked up. Mayor, let the mayor answer that one.
The governor and I are 100% aligned on this issue, Nick.
I don't like this guy.
And the answer is what you see behind us on this podium here. These partnerships are a force multiplier to keep our streets safe and secure. And so I want more investments in the FBI. I want more investments in U.S. Marshal. I want more investments in the ATF and DEA to get violent offenders off our street, to get illegal guns off our streets. The National Guard, in my opinion, is not the solution.
Let me start.
Okay, now that was a lengthy little discussion there. Wow, that was a lengthy discussion on it. But I wanted you guys to hear the clips of what they were talking about, what Governor DeWine was talking about, and what Mayor Bibbs was talking about. They're talking about working together with the different agencies, the FBI, and all of that to try to get violent offenders off the streets. But here's the problem with what the mayor said. Okay, and am I against the mayor? Yes. I'm against his policies, rather. He's a progressive Democrat. I said that when he first got elected in 2020. I think it was 2020 or 2021. And I was telling people, they were coming to me and crying to me and talking about, oh, we going to get this guy in. He's just so young. He's this, he's that, and woo, 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 woo. And at the time, I was like, well, you know, what do you know about this man? The lady asked me about him, I said, what do you know about him? What do you know about his policies? And I began to bring some things up to her that made her think outside the box that she had been conditioned to think in terms of Democrats. First of all, and I hate to say it, but the guy, the mayor, he's a black guy and he's young. He might not be more in his 40s or something like that. Black and young. So they figured, and what she was spitting to me was that, hey, we need to vote for him. And by the way, the young lady that was telling me to stop was a white woman. Young white girl. And I guess I was supposed to be, her assumption of me being a black man was supposed to be, rah, 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 rah. We need to vote for this man because because he's black and he's young. And I began to say things to her to make her think outside the box she had been programmed to think. Okay, should we vote for somebody because they're young and of some type of ethnic group? No, that's stupid. I didn't say exactly those words, but I said it in so many ways. That's one of the dumbest reasons to vote for someone, because of their age and they're being young and their race. What kind of mess is that? What about the policies? It's not their age or their race or any of that is going to dictate the course of a city or a state or a county or country. It's their policies that are implemented that would dictate the course. That's common sense. So I began to say that to her and share those type of things with her. And she asked, after I was finished, she was like, oh, man, I didn't know anything. That was just amazing to me. I didn't, we need to talk more. You need to get on a forum or this, that, and the other. I wasn't finna go through all that. I had just gotten a new job. I wasn't finna be bothered because I'd have been to cuss somebody out. I don't have the patience. But anyway, the problem with Mayor Bibb and what he's saying here, and why all this rhetoric is being spit out, is because, number one, it's election day today. So now they want to talk all this mess, okay? And so he wants to get reelected. I hope he doesn't. I think there's a female running against him. I think she's black, and I think she's Republican. I hope she wins. Whether or not she's going to win, I don't know. But anyway, one of the first things that Mayor Bibbs did was he started defunding the police. So you already know where that's headed. He started defunding the police. And here's this hit home because where I was working, I worked around a lot of police officers all the time, and we would talk. And these police officers would share with me the decisions that were being made, and many of these police officers were leaving the city of Cleveland and going to other places because they didn't want to be a part of that. Now, you can argue all day about whatever you want to argue, whatever, man. They didn't want to be a part of that. You defunding the police, you're putting all the pressure on them. So things started getting worse. We had less police on the streets, so crime started rising. It did not decrease, it started to rise. Well, duh. Okay. So then all of a sudden, Mayor Bibb decided to try to change things. So he tried to add incentives, more money and stuff like this, and to try to change things. I don't know whether or not it's changed for the good or not, but it seems to me it has not really changed for the good as much as he is pushing. Okay. We have had crazy things happen here in the city of Cleveland. Crime since he's been in office, I don't ever remember it being like it is today. I never remember being like it is today. Either it could be simply that I was not aware back then as I am today. You know, I mean, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these type of different resources that we have today in these outlets to become more informed. So that could be a reason. But I also feel that during these times, the 80s and the 90s and so forth, I could feel that there was not that much crime. I could feel it. Today, I hate to go outside. I hate to go downtown. It stinks. I can smell the crime. I can smell the nonsense. It stinks to my nostrils, man. It's like a nastiness, a evil, a darkness that pervades the atmosphere, okay? I believe this is what he has brought in here. Mayor Bibbs has brought in here with his woke policies. But because people like to vote for people because they black and Democrat, all right, go ahead. Black and Democrat, go ahead with your bad self and see where that gets you. Yeah, but I want to respond to it because inevitably at the end of the day, having the National Guard, now I know this gets into an area of the police state and that type of thing, but I'm going to say this. Aside from all the rhetoric that DeWine said, all the rhetoric that Mayor Bibbs said, having the National Guard walking around in the streets will definitely stop crime. How I know that? Because that's what happened in Washington, D.C. That's what happened in, I think, another city where they had the National Guard walking around. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, crime decreased big time. And the reason why I believe crime decreased big time was because these National Guards were walking around visibly. They were visibly walking around. They had their tanks or whatever. They were visibly walking around. It looked like communist Russia. And that's terrifying. It's terrifying. It is. But the people that it should terrify and scare is the criminals. It shouldn't terrify and scare regular people. Regular people, law-abiding people, citizens, for the most part, are not scared of the National Guard walking around. It's the criminals that are scared of the National Guard walking around, and they stay out of sight. But in terms of Governor DeWine and Mayor Bibbs talking about all these agencies working together to decrease crime and get rid of the violent offenders, you can't see that. The violent offenders and the criminals don't see U.S. Marshals and the FBI and all the rest walking around. They don't see that. Those people are doing their stuff undercover. And the criminals don't see that. And as long as the criminals don't physically see it, they're going to assume that they're not there. Out of sight, out of mind. And they're going to do their thing. I'm sick and tired of hearing people getting unalived at the flats. One particular store, from what I understand, got closed down because of all the crime that's rising up. Is that really what we need? We don't need the U.S. Marshals and we don't need all them. What we need, in my opinion, is for the National Guard to come into this city and walk around for about a month. Let them walk around for a month. May not be able to afford to have it all for long, but let them walk around the streets for a month. I guarantee you, all these knucklehead criminals, you won't see them anywhere. You won't see these kids walking around with book bags on their shoulder, wearing all black and wearing masks, trying to rob people. You won't see that. I guarantee you won't see it. You won't see it as sure as I'm standing here, sitting here. You will not see it. That's my opinion, okay? Not permanent, but for at least a month. At least a month, every day, 7 days a week, let them walk around on all the streets. Let them pull their tanks up and their cars or trucks, whatever they're using. I guarantee you it'll get quiet. Okay, just like it did in Washington, D.C., and just like it did, I think it might have been in L.A. Correct me in the comment box if I'm wrong. Yeah. So what they were saying, I get it. What the governor was saying, what the mayor was saying, or rather what the governor was saying, I get it. But what the mayor is saying is a bunch of bull crap. He's a progressive Democrat. He doesn't care about anything. He just wants to stay in power. And he was all about defunding the police. But when that didn't work, people started crying out, help us, help us. Now he wants to try to change it because that method is stupid. It's ignorant. And all I'm going to say is if anyone watching this video that's from the city of Cleveland and you about to vote, do not vote for Bibbs. Don't do it. Don't do it. I have this funny feeling that might be what happens. He's going to be our mayor for another. I have that funny feeling. If that happens, it just goes to show you, man, we just lost. We just programmed by the Democrats to vote for Democrats no matter what. But whatever, man. But that's what I had to say about it. What do you guys think about this video? What do you guys think about the proposal that Mayor Bibbs and Governor DeWine said, even though you may not be from the city of Cleveland, you know, you can make that a general application. What do you guys think about this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.